on radio, on YouTube, and on your smartphone. This is Tutor Speaks. We invite all listeners to tune into I-95.5 every Thursday morning at approximately 7:25 for Tutor Speaks, a program which highlights local, regional, and international issues affecting the education sector. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tutor Speaks. I'm your presenter, Barry Joel Desaine. Recently, the 113th and 117th reports of the Salary Review Commission was laid in Parliament by the Minister of Finance. The latter report, which recommended substantial increases, particularly for the members of government, prompted public outcry, and rightly so. Indeed, the leader of the Joint Trade Union movement, Mr. Ancel Roger, aptly represented the indignation of public servants when he said of the report last Tuesday, "It is insensitive, it is arrogant, it is vexatious to even lay that report in Parliament at this time. But if it had to be laid, the Minister of Finance should have immediately said that the Cabinet have discussed it and we have decided not to implement that report." The Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association strongly agree with these sentiments, not only because of the intense coercion to accept 4% increase after a decade of waiting, but also because some of our members are yet to receive their payment of arrears. The time release of these reports are also quite suspicious, especially when one considers how matters unfolded over several years. It was in March 2020 that the President gave approval for the Salary Review Commission to undertake a general review of the salaries and conditions of service for those officers under its purview. By that time, Tutor had already been lobbying for over 4 years for negotiations to begin with the Chief Personnel Officer for the 2014 to 2017 collective bargaining period. Disappointingly, it took 2 more years for the Minister of Finance to finally give the approval for the CPO to commence negotiations. The process began on the 28th of March 2022, some 2 years after the Salary Review Commission began its work. It begs the question, why was priority given to reviewing the salaries of members of government rather than the public servants? Moreover, within weeks of meeting with the CPO, all the unions were crying foul because there was no real bargaining in the bargaining process. The government insisted on a 0.002 percentage wage offer and refused to bargain. Despite the results of the external labour market survey, which showed that teachers were badly underpaid, the Minister of Finance insisted in September 2022 that the government could not afford to offer anything more than 4%, stating that, and I quote, "No responsible government can contemplate bankrupting the entire country simply to appease a portion of the labour force. We are firm in our view that our current offer of 4% over the 2014 to 2019 for the mainstream public service, although it will be a challenge to raise the required funds, is practical and equitable." Off quote. A few weeks later, in October 2022, the 113th report of the Salary Review Commission was completed. In Section 54, it stated that, in light of economic events globally, including the impact of the pandemic and the economic challenges which the country has experienced since 2014, the Commission is assured that its decision to maintain existing salaries and allowances for officers within its purview is appropriate. The position taken by the Commission in this report appears extremely coherent with the views expressed by the government at the time. So much so that it might be fair to question whether there might have been some kind of collusion between the Commission and the Ministry of Finance. By May 2023, many of the trade unions would have reluctantly accepted the government's offer. What many may not have noticed is that the 117th report of the Salary Review Commission was also completed in that month. So while public servants were accepting the measly 4%, the recommendation to substantially increase the salaries of the members of government were already in place. It is also noteworthy that the time difference between the two reports is merely 7 months apart. This begs the question, what would have happened in those 7 months for the Commission to change its position of maintaining salaries because of economic challenges? How can a 34% increase in salary for the Prime Minister be justified within this 7-month framework? Did the economy miraculously improve in the 7 months after the first report? Or is it that things were not as bad 7 months earlier as was posited by the government? Did the Minister of Finance deceive the unions into accepting 4%? Or should we expect a substantial increase in salary for the next bargaining period? Food for thought. You have been listening to Tutor Speaks. To contact us, please dial 610-3850. That's 610-3850. Or you may email our president at president@tutor.org. That's president@TTUTA.org. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where recordings of interviews, events, and other materials are uploaded regularly. Like us by giving a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and subscribe.